Well, hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our Spot by NetApp webinar. I'm Doug Kreisen, your host for today's event. We have a very exciting and informative session planned for you today. In the next hour, you'll see how Spot enables you to take control of your entire cloud environment and spend, and how it does this by continuously optimizing your cloud infrastructure. And you'll learn how to reduce costs for all your workloads that are running across all of your major public clouds. I'd also like to mention that we'll be recording this webinar for those of you who would like to share this presentation with colleagues. And if you have questions, you can ask them using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll also have a Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Okay. Let me first introduce you to the folks who will be presenting today. We have with us Sam Aled. Sam is Telefonica's Director of U.S. Sales and Client Services. We have Zach Blaui. Zach is NetApp Spot Strategic Cloud Specialist. And we also have Dustin Venable. And Dustin is NetApp Spot Solution Architect. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda. So the topics that we'll be covering today are why optimize your cloud. We'll describe the performance improvements and cost savings that you can expect with cloud. And then we'll also talk about how you can take control of your not only your cloud spend and environment, and how you do this with Spot Automation. We'll be giving you a technical overview, and then we'll go through some actual use case examples. And then lastly, we'll give you a live demonstration. We'll be able to see all the capabilities and benefits in action. Okay, and then finally, we'll talk about how to develop a cloud optimization plan and how you can take full advantage of the free trial just for coming to our webinar. And it's real easy. You can schedule a free trial. You can simply scan the QR code at the bottom of the right-hand corner of your screen, or you can click on the hyperlink that we shared in the Zoom chat earlier. I just want to mention, setting up a Spot is really fast and easy. We're here to help you every step of the way. Okay, well, with that, I'd like to turn it over to Sam, who will tell you a little bit about Telefónica Tech. So, Sam, over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Doug, and good afternoon and good morning, everybody. I would really want to thank you, everyone that has joined this webinar. My name is Sam. I work for Telefónica Tech. We are one of the largest MSPs in the world. We're part of a very large group called Telefónica Group, which is a very large organization that over $50 billion in revenue and over about 100,000 employees. My division, which is Telefónica Tech, we're about 6,000 employees, and we have revenues over $1.5 billion, and we've been growing very fast. We are fully dedicated to provide cloud, cybersecurity, big data, and NI solutions to the market. We're a business-to-business company, and we have presence over 21 countries and customers all over the world. Part of our expertise is really adding services and solutions to our customers. We have over 3,000 certified experts in our teams, and we're a very big partner of NetApp. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you, NetApp, for the invitation and for the opportunity to share about our expertise and our partnership. In terms of what we do, just focusing a little bit more about our portfolio of solutions, just focusing in two major pillars, which is the cybersecurity and the cloud. On the cybersecurity side, Telefónica Tech has a completely 360-degree solution for cyber, which we incorporate all kinds of technologies, and we bundle it in a product called Next Defense, which is the brand name of our entire portfolio on cybersecurity. So we have all kinds of solutions: endpoint security, network security, data protection, cloud security, identity protection, IoT, and around many others. So we can offer pretty much any solutions to any companies of any size. From the cloud standpoint, we work with all the major cloud hyper cloud vendors. We are certified by AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. We have our own cloud, which called VDC, based on VMware technology. And also, we can provide on-prem solutions as well, or private cloud solutions. So we can cover any cloud aspect of your business and any kind of needs. As part of our partnership with NetApp, we're very focused on the cloud optimization and improve efficiency and reliability of cloud. And that's why we're here today to really join the effort with NetApp and understand further how we can, together with NetApp, provide you a much better solution to cloud. Said that, Doug, I'll send back to you.
Terrific. Thank you, Sam. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get things started with a poll question. And we'd like to ask, what is the most important consideration for your DevOps SRE teams when developing a plan to optimize your compute resource consumption? And let me go ahead and launch that here, and you can weigh in. So you have 4 choices. So unit economics and optimizing for best cost per hour, DevOps efficiencies, so automating manual activities that are non-revenue generating, resource allocation, and utilization, sizing workloads to meet demand, ensuring no waste occurs, and then sort of the catch-all, all of the above. So we'll just wait a moment here for everyone to respond. Okay. And okay, let me go ahead and end the poll here and share the results. Okay, so let's take a look at the distribution here. So we've got I think most everyone is choosing resource allocation and utilization, sizing workloads to meet demand and ensuring no waste occurs. And so, which is interesting because that's typically the kind of distribution we've seen in the past. And I don't know, Zach, if you have any thoughts about that, and if that's something that you too see a lot with the customers that we're working with Spot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as you can see, right, that all of these are priorities, and depending on your maturity curve, where you sit in how your DevOps teams are flowing and working together, that they're all important considerations. And with the growing complexities and how we consume compute infrastructure, whether it be VM, whether it be containerized, is that sizing pods, nodes, right, underlying compute can grow and challenge at scale. And all of these DevOps and efficiencies and unit economics are byproducts of being able to do this all well. So I think that it makes a lot of sense historically. Those are the type of results that we see when we're diving into conversations, and what we're looking forward to peeling back the layers of the onion on today with how and where Spot can help provide value.
Okay, thank you, Zach. And now I'd like to turn it over to Zach, and who will talk about how Spot gives you visibility, automation, and continuous optimization for all your cloud operations. So Zach, over to you.
Yeah, thank you everybody for giving us the time today and your attention. I'm looking forward to talking about the impact that Spot has for organizations. And if we take a step back, really what we are is a compute automation and optimization platform. But as compute is the gasoline, right, that helps our infrastructure and our services go, we want to embody multiple aspects of the responsibilities that your team has, right? From abstracting away the non-revenue generating activities to make sure that your team is only focusing on moving the needle forward, making sure that your infrastructure is optimized and that you have the best sized resources without any performance degradation, as well as the best purchase option to make sure that you're not overspending. And then lastly is the scaling efficiencies that we can offer to make sure that you're as performant and elastic as possible for those dynamic workloads to meet the demand and the need of your applications as they improve a lot of see a lot of load increase on the service. And that's what we're going to encompass today is how can we help make sure your applications have the resources they need? How do we make sure they're sized and purchase option appropriate? And how do we take this off of your team's plate to scale as accurately as possible and allow you to go and adopt more containers, provision more workloads, and roll more out faster? So the platform today, which we'll get into, is something that is vertical agnostic. And that's because every vertical, every customer type is consuming compute resources in the cloud across all hyperscalers. And every person is going across that cloud modernization journey at their own particular pace, whether it is a lift and shift from the data center and you're working through microservices into containers all the way to cloud native, right? Born EKS, born scaling those container infrastructure. And that's what we have the opportunity to do is support you along any step of that journey, which is why you'll see from the large legacy enterprise organizations who moved into the cloud to those really fast moving, born in the cloud agnostic companies, because we have technology that can support you better, faster, stronger than piecing together some of the open source, et cetera. And that's what we'll dive into today. So what and how did Spot become as relevant as it did, right? As we talk about the crawl, walk, run approach and how do your workloads get engineered going into the cloud? As we've gone through time, right, we have seen continuous complexity introduced, moving from the waterfall-based approach, which takes a very long time, moving into agile, where you have that secular, right, design, develop, QA, deploy, et cetera, process, to now where we're continuously deploying code into the cloud and having our infrastructure be extremely dynamic. And as this dynamic increases, right, the ability to accurately and effectively provision infrastructure to match those needs becomes an increasingly complex task that we want to take away and do in the most efficient manner for you so that you can focus on pushing that code, focus on that backlog, and make sure that you're meeting the needs of your end user and not necessarily worried about, hey, do we have the right performance, size, and scope of infrastructure underneath it as we continuously deploy? So that's exactly where we attach ourselves, right? Too often, what we see when it comes to deployment and what we call continuous optimization is that these considerations are being made at intervals of time, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly, where you take a look and say, we provisioned this new application, we made these changes, we started using XYZ instance type, here's where we were over or undersized, here's where we didn't have the right purchase option, right? All of these considerations are being made at these intervals, which with dynamic infrastructure can leave a lot of money and performance degradation on the table. What we're saying is let us tie in and integrate into your CI/CD process and be the provisioning or managed service that manages commitments on your behalf so that we're dynamically making and provisioning this infrastructure in real time to meet those demands. So that's where we're going to talk in about monolithic scaling on VM, containerized workloads. We can help apply and provision you on the best infrastructure possible.
Okay, thanks, Zach. And we're just going to ask another poll question here. And the question is, at what stage are you in your FinOps strategy planning and application? So are you in your planning phase, savings plan first strategy, managing your own reserved instances, or broad spot instance usage with backfill of RI and SP? So I am going to go and launch the poll. And just take a moment to answer, and then we'll go ahead and share the results. And while we're waiting, I always think it's interesting to see where everyone is on their FinOps journey. And as we'll see in a moment when we go through the demo, that regardless of what stage you're at, Spot's going to help your organization, achieve this ongoing savings and optimization of your cloud infrastructure. So it looks like just waiting for a few more folks to weigh in here. And I'll end the poll and share the results. Okay, let me go ahead and do that and share the results. Okay, there we go. So let's see. It's kind of split between the planning phase and managing your own reserved instances. Zach, any thoughts on that? Again, consistent with what you've seen in the past with your other customers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that I am surprised that there wasn't a broader savings plan first type strategy. Typically what we see is a combination of the two, and it really depends on the resources allocated, overhead, and kind of risk assessment done, because we'll see typically folks who go with savings plans approaches first will have a much higher coverage and utilization effort, because those savings plans can dynamically attach to the highest basically savings percentage of compute available to them. Managing RIs on their own without a solution like Eco, which we'll go into, will historically see lower coverage percentage because of the risk associated with RIs. And that is, it lacks the flexibility that if you change availability zones, regions, instance types, etc., you now have to either offload that commitment or you're going to have waste associated with it. So typically our customers fall anywhere between the combination of, yeah, we're planning to, hey, we think we have a good handle on this. And there's incremental value across each step of the way that we can help get that extra mile while reducing risk. And again, offloading that overhead that goes into budgeting, forecasting, going to business owners and different application owners, asking them what they're going to be using to make those kind of assessments and purchase commitments, that we can make a heck of a lot easier and mitigate a lot of the risk associated with that, or again, excess or spot capacity.
Perfect. Thank you, Zach. And speaking of customers, let me go ahead and go to our next slide here, which is Ticketmaster. And I think that's our next slide. And back to you, Zach.
Yeah, absolutely. So Ticketmaster is a use case that we like to use because they've derived value across the entire platform, whether it is our intelligent auto scaling or our managed service platform that allows us to dynamically buy and sell commitments. So I'll start on the commitment side, because Ticketmaster was like most of you, where they were managing a significant amount of RIs themselves. And as COVID hit, right, what happened? Their traffic went down drastically because no one's going to concerts, no one's going to their websites buying tickets. Taylor Swift isn't going on tour, and their website is experiencing a huge amount of load that they've prepared for with their commitment strategy. So what did they need? They needed a vehicle to be able to go and offload all of these commitments. And that is what our Eco platform does, is we give you the opportunity to leverage 3-year standard RIs without the risk associated with them, right? Because we have a huge backend of thousands of customers, as well as the AWS secondary market, where we can dynamically sell these off as you make changes, as maybe you migrate to a different cloud, as if you're impacted by something outside of your own control, which is how we were able to help save them millions of dollars by offloading excess commitments that were no longer needed. The other side of the house is they had about 6 to 8 DevOps engineers supporting thousands of developers, and they were inundated with being on call, unhealthy like work-life balance because of how much they needed to go help break fix, and they actually had budget to go and hire more. With Ocean, our platform to manage any orchestrator there, specifically EKS, we were able to automate their container infrastructure from a vertical scaling by making it on the best purchase option, doing pod-driven auto scaling, and not just using metric-based scaling to meet their high demand, as well as some headroom, some things Dustin will get into. But also just abstract this away from their DevOps engineers. So they actually didn't need to go and hire any more folks. They scaled more performantly, and their underlying cost was as affordable as possible because they could scale reliably on spot. We were bin packing their infrastructure to have as reduced of a node footprint as possible, and then offering recommendations on pod right sizing to make sure that things weren't getting out of hand and noisy neighbors weren't too much of an issue.
Great. And I saw a question just came in. I see Dustin is answering it right now. And Dustin, feel free to just answer if you like, just verbally here. And the question is, does the Telefonica NetApp Spot solution support all cloud environments, regardless if they are bare metal, the dedicated shared services, or container-based services?
Yes, as long as the instances or the VMs are being hosted in the cloud, we can support them. Whether it's, as you stated, container-based. So if you're running Kubernetes or ECS in something like AWS, yeah, we can support it. We can optimize it. Of course, there can be some caveats. That's where we work with our customers to look at the configurations. Maybe some user data scripts might be a little different than what we're used to seeing or what is generally out there. So the easy answer is yes, but of course we always want to look at each application with the customer and do the integration as in a testing phase, and then go from there. So, and that's part of what I'll walk through later on with the demo, is kind of going through that journey of starting the testing.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dustin. Okay, Zach, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to make sure expectations are set correctly. So we have the opportunity to basically support anything that is what we call interruptible, right? It's ephemeral. It can handle an instance replacement. When we're using Spot, we can do across any hyperscaler. When it comes to the more stateful single point of failure workloads, Eco can support AWS and Azure GA today, and Eco for GCP is shortly on the roadmap ahead of us. So that's where we look at the product suite, right? The first two, or excuse me, the second two on the right, Elastic Group and Ocean, are basically replacing the cloud native autoscalers. That's where we offer layers of intelligence and performance enhancements, where you turn autoscaling down to 0. We use APIs to look at the demand coming in and scale up and down. Eco is more of a managed service, where it's a combination of our algorithm and intelligence platform, as well as a group of cost specialists, where you're essentially hiring a FinOps team in a box, and we go and look at that compute consumption and provide the best and most flexible commitment strategy and portfolio to allow you to master unit economics through commitments while mitigating the risk and overhead associated with doing it yourself. And I'll dive into the high level of each of these, and then Dustin will dig in deeper once I've provided some context in the demo. So Eco was primarily made as an AWS solution, right? Because if you're managing RIs and things yourself, you're aware of, well, am I going to be using this for 3 years? Can I only take advantage of a 1-year standard RI because I'm not sure it's going to go anywhere? Or because of the nature of this, do I get a 3-year savings plan, but now I'm locked into that term for 3 years and don't have the opportunity to go and use or consume any other purchase option because of this term agreement? What we do is leverage the secondary market and our own internal market. And this allows us to go out and leverage as many 3-year standard RIs as possible, which allows you to get the best unit economic, right? Because we know 3-year standard RIs have better savings than 3-year savings plans, and obviously better than the 1 or 2 year term commitment. But you don't have the risk of holding on to that bag, because as you deprecate workloads, you change instance types, you change regions, Our platform is reading this from your cost and usage report or your billing console in real time, and we're making those adjustments on the fly to match the commitment to your consumption. So what this allows you to do is mitigate the risk associated with terms or maybe choosing savings plans, et cetera. If you start to have more scalable workloads and want to adopt a spot instance or VM, we can now offload those or make those changes for you on the fly on your behalf. And that's really what Eco was destined to do, is three things. Is one, eliminate the overhead from your team of having to go in, manually forecast, budget, and apply commitments. Two, mitigate the risk associated with these termed agreements so that you can have more flexibility. And then three, let's master the unit economics that we can get through commitments by applying the best discount without having to worry again about the risk. And then next is Elastigroup, which is the foundation of how Amiram, our founder, created this organization almost 10 years ago. He was looking at the scaling and overhead that goes into today of what does the classic DevOps person have to deal with and what are their biggest challenges. And that's what we were highlighting in that first poll question that I think a lot of us can agree to is one, it's complex to manage infrastructure right now. So what does Elastigroup do? Elastigroup looks at the incoming demand of a workload and does a few things. One, there's 400, 500 plus instance types. Elastigroup looks at those resource requirements and can dynamically go spin up the best instance size and type based on those. So now you don't have the limitations of performance testing and for different size workloads, just selecting a few type of instances. We can match that demand perfectly so that there's nothing starving, but you're also not overpaying and over provisioning. The second part of this is spot instance reliability. So as I'm sure you're all aware, right, there's a lot of skepticism around using spot instances outside of anything of a dev or staging environment because of the caveats of that capacity being able to go away. Well, the algorithm that we have allows us to actively predict spot instance interruptions up to 2 hours in advance. What does this mean for you? It doesn't mean we send an alert and you have to send somebody on a wild goose chase to go and find more spot capacity or to provision a new instance. What we do is when we know a spot instance is likely to be terminated, we will go ahead and spin up a new spot instance, get it healthy, gracefully drain those connections from the old one and reattach it to the new one. So you don't have to worry about that capacity going away. You don't have to worry about the risk typically associated with spot instances because we're managing that on your behalf. So let's say it's a Black Friday, Cyber Monday, something along those cases, right, where there's no spot capacity or excess capacity across any of the providers available. We'll automatically fall back to on demand or pay as you go. And then as the excess capacity becomes available, revert back to it. If there's a smaller spot instance available that's not going to jeopardize the resources and application performance, we'll size down to it. And we're making all these considerations across resources, cost, et cetera, in real time while meeting the scaling demand on your behalf. So your DevOps folks don't have to be in the weeds, manually configuring, chasing, et cetera, for any of their scaling activities. We're taking that on and we're doing it in the most efficient and effective way possible. And then the last one is Ocean. Ocean is essentially a wrapper around Elastigroup, which is the core functionality of the tech that we run. Ocean is for anything and everything containers, whether you're using an EKS, a COPS, any open source, any flavor, we have the ability to integrate, and it offers a few additional layers of optimization. The first one is right sizing at the pod level. So what we're going to do is offer recommendations where we're historically looking at the peaks of what developers are actually using versus what they're requesting and seeing what that band of excess, right, resources being allocated for these are and prioritizing those sizing recommendations for you, which goes into the next part of it, which is our bin packing algorithm. And the bin packing is one of the cooler things I've seen because what we're doing is every 10, 15 seconds, we're doing scale down simulations to see how pods can be better allocated on nodes. And with respecting labels, taints, tolerations, affinities, et cetera, if there's an opportunity to move those pods to a node and reduce that footprint, we're doing that on your behalf in real time, which is where if you're running on demand or pay-go, our customers through leveraging spot instances, bin packing, and sizing pods correctly can see 90% plus reduction on compute costs. And I see there's a question about SLAs. If we want
Yes.
to
Sure, let me go ahead and read it, if you can let us know your thoughts, Zach. So the question is, what are their standard SLAs with the spot solution in terms of financial impact, availability, and other relevant SLAs? And where can we find this information?
Yeah, so I'm happy to take it offline. I would have to dig in more around the or if you can type it to help me get some guidance on the financial impact of as an SLA. Otherwise, for availability, because we have the opportunity to fall back to on demand, we offer 4.9 SLA on capacity, the same that you get from your cloud provider. We also do have on our like Legal Central, and I'm happy to get the links shared after we hop off the call today. That is our SLA documentation to all of the different SLAs that we have. And then I'm happy to as well go offline and understand more about in terms of financial impact. What I can tell you is we have an IDC report that was done that shows the optimizations that we do, not only from go-to-market infrastructure and DevOps efficiencies, but we've done our own internal metering. And based off of on-demand pricing across hyperscalers, we average about a 70% reduction from on-demand costs. We don't necessarily have an SLA for that because every region, OS, right, availability zone, hyperscaler, et cetera, has different meters, right? We're at the mercy of the pricing structure they have. We just have the intelligence and scaling ability to use those levers and those knobs to make sure that you're never starving and that the purchase options available to you are as optimized as possible.
Great, thank you, Zach. And that was a great question. And a lot of the answers to these types of questions and others are answered with the free trial too. So again, you kind of get your first hand experience in using Spot, and it's you get a lot of insights from going through that process. Okay, so let's see. I think I'm on my next slide here. And I think this is yours, Zach.
Yep. And so this just goes hand in hand, right, with how do we help you mitigate risk from leveraging spot instances and how thousands of our customers use us to leverage spot capacity across production. Because what is the typical order of operations today without a solution like Spot in place? It's, hey, we have the capacity, we've configured it to run on spot instances. All of a sudden, someone's willing to pay on demand or RI pricing, so that capacity goes away. Now we're left responsible for ourselves to go and re-provision that capacity, which can lead to interruptions, degradation of the end user experience. With a platform like ours, where we can preemptively understand when those interruptions are likely to happen, as you can see, we go above the required capacity because we're spinning up that instance, getting it healthy, getting it ready to switch over for when that interruption is likely to occur. So this is just a good visualization of how are we able to help you leverage Spot in production. And then as you can see on the right too, if that spot capacity goes away, we'll fall back to that on demand. So the capacity is never going below what's required. And we're going to continuously, if this graph kept going on the right here, you would eventually see that blue drop back down, the spot capacity go above the required resource capacity line, and then eventually back to normal, because we're continuously scouring those markets. It's a little bit different, right, than some of the cloud native solutions you might be thinking of, where it's we're using Carpenter, we're doing this, where once we fall back, we will go back onto spot capacity. And if there is cheaper nodes, cheaper VMs, better way to do it, we'll constantly re-provision on the cheaper form. So that is one of the powers of leveraging Elastic Group and Ocean to manage scaling.
Terrific. All right. Thank you, Zach. And now we'll turn it over to Dustin, who's going to give us a demo and show us how Spot operationalizes and automates FinOps. So Dustin, over to you, and I will go ahead and stop sharing so that you can take over.
Perfect. Thank you, Doug. Let me pull up what I have here. All right. So what are we looking at? This is the Spot console. You get this out of the box. We do not charge a platform fee. So you can go up, you can create your own Spot account for free. You can check out the solutions, the whole platform. And that's something that we really want to drive home. We're not a point solution company. We are a platform. It's a suite of solutions that you can see here from the hamburger menu. Everything that we're covering. You get to have access to all of it from day one. And it's really about finding what makes the most sense for your infrastructure. Now, of course, we talked about compute, and that's really what we're going to focus on. I'll show you a couple different things that even travel outside of the compute world that we can help optimize. But I want to take you through the journey of how to get started with Spot, realistic timelines that you can sort of expect, and really understand how quickly we can get things started and really see the value of what we can bring. So the first thing that I want to show is this right here, which is our optimization page. What this is we can get connected to your cloud provider. And again, we're talking about AWS, GCP, and Azure. We can apply read-only permissions. And what this is going to do is we're going to connect your AWS linked accounts. And in fact, in AWS, we have a CloudFormation stack set that you can run one time, and it's going to automatically bring in all of your AWS linked accounts to your Spot organization. That way you don't have to bring them in one by one. So whether you have 5 linked accounts or 500, all of that will happen automatically. And with the read-only permissions, we're looking at your applications that are running the instances or running the VMs and seeing what could be compatible with Spot, and specifically Spot instances or VMs, not Spot by NetApp. I know it can get confusing, but in GCP and Azure, we can connect your GCP project or your Azure subscription one by one, and then again, apply those read-only permissions. And what's going to happen is after we make this connection, and again, timelines, what can you expect? Creating a Spot account and applying the read-only permissions to get to this page right here, we can do that on a 30-minute Zoom call. It might take 10 to 15 minutes. So we'll leave a little time for questions. We can, poke around the whole Spot console. But what's going to happen after that is within 48 hours, you're going to start seeing data populate onto this page. And again, this is the optimization page. And it's pulling up the workloads that we are saying this is applicable for Spot instances or Spot VMs. So you can see here with our solution Elastigroup, that's looking for your auto-scaling groups or scale sets. It's looking for application gateways, load balancers. And it's saying, okay, if you were to integrate one of these resources, which again, this is where the real value is in this page, is listing all of your resources that you have one by one so you can decide, all right, what's the low-hanging fruit? One, what do we want to test with? What's the development workload that we can bring in for a proof of concept or a proof of value? And then you get to see the estimated savings if we start integrating that with something like Elastigroup or Ocean. And you'll see it's listed by Cloud Account ID. What's great is you can export this into an Excel file, and you'll know as the customer, you're going to know which applications you want to go after first. And this is how we decide. This is how we're going to start the POV. So what's great is you can see all of the data. And again, within 48 hours, this is what's going to, populate. You're going to see estimated annual savings, estimated monthly savings. This is saying if you were to integrate every single workload with our platform, this is what you could see. That's a best case scenario. Realistically, not everything is compatible with Spot, but that's where we work with you. You get to tell us, hey, this workload cannot handle an interruption ever. Perfect. We'll skip it. Let's go find one that is. An auto-scaling group for a front-end web application that simply scales up and scales down based on CPU utilization. That's a perfect example of something that we can use for Spot, something in Elastigroup. If you have EKS workloads, ECS workloads, anything Kubernetes related, in GCP. So GKE clusters, in Azure, your AKS clusters. All of that is going to show up and it's going to give you the numbers that you're seeing right here. What this does, it leads into, and I'll go into our actual applications. We'll jump over the Ocean, and that's our solution for your containerized applications. So we're in an AWS account, as you can see right here. So we can do Kubernetes, which is going to be EKS, and we can do ECS. We'll jump into this Kubernetes cluster. And to bring in an EKS cluster, maybe it takes another 5 to 10 minutes to get it integrated. What we're going to do is once you find that development workload that we're going to start with, we're going to upgrade the permissions just a little bit. They'll still be restricted because we want to respect your SecOps. We know security is a huge deal now. So we'll provide all of the policies ahead of time. That way they can get approved before we start going in and saying, hey, let's get connected. So once we upgrade the permissions to give us some right permissions so our software can do what it does, we'll bring it in with Ocean. We're going to install what's called an Ocean controller. It's simply a pod that goes into the data plane, and that's the brains of Ocean. That's what's reading all of the metadata. So we'll bring it in, and as you can see with this EKS cluster, I want you to see this column right here. All of these are spot instances that are running. And because of that 4.9 SLA that we are providing, this will allow you to run spot instances or spot VMs on not just your dev and QA workloads, but your production workloads. So what you're seeing here is all of these are being spot instances, but you're also going to see some of these are on demand, but they're being covered by a savings plan. What our software can do is if you have any unutilized commitments, reserved instances, savings plans that are producing what we call financial waste, meaning the coverage might be 100%, but the utilization might be down to 90, 80, maybe 70%. So you're not getting the full value of that commitment. We can apply that unutilized commitment to your scalable workloads. Ocean is smart enough to say, before we go look for spot instances, before we look at an on-demand instance, let's look at any potential unutilized commitments and then apply them to your cluster or your auto-scaling group. Another thing I want you to see is we have a variety of instance types. We're all about leveraging more instance or VM families, sizes, and types within your configuration. Now, you still have complete control to whitelist or blacklist all of the instances or VMs that you want. But by default, we want to open you up to as many as possible. That way you have much better chances of finding the most efficient instance at any given time. Our software is constantly pinging the spot market pools and finding, based on the price and the predicted availability, what's the best instance for this application at all times. Another great feature of Ocean, as you can see, a lot of these nodes, the allocation or the utilization is well above 90%. Ocean is able to do this by a feature or value that we call automated bin packing. What Ocean is doing is every 5, 10, or 15 minutes is looking for a bin packing opportunity, meaning if you have a node that has low utilization, Ocean will want to reschedule the pods on that node onto a different node or multiple different nodes. That way you're not, let's say you have 10 nodes at 30% utilization. Ocean is going to say, hey, we can run that on 4 or 5 nodes and get up to 80 or 90% utilization. So we're reducing your carbon footprint automatically, just making everything more efficient. But a byproduct of this is an additional 15 to 30% savings because you're not over provisioned with all of those extra nodes. And that's just a great value add that we have. And that one piece, that automated bin packing, we don't even charge for that. That's just an extra thing that we're throwing in. Now, let's say with your Kubernetes clusters, you have multiple node groups or node pools. Well, we'll automatically bring those in and create virtual node groups or VNGs. These are just different launch specifications that are going to match your different node pools. So you can have your whole cluster, but maybe a portion of your cluster can only run on C4 and C5 instance types. Perfect. You can separate it by a label, and Ocean is smart enough to know that anytime that VNG needs to scale up, it can only be those instance types. And all of that can be configured within here. It can be configured in Terraform. It can be configured in CloudFormation. So most of your infrastructure has code options, whatever you're using. We most likely have a way to integrate with it, but for sure, Terraform and CloudFormation are the two biggest and easiest ones that we use. The services, pods, and namespaces, those are just for viewing. What's great is on the cost analysis tab, this is giving you a granular view of the cost of your cluster. And you can download this, you can export it, do whatever you need. You can create your own chart by namespace, labels, or whatever it is. But this is giving you, again, a granular view into the costs of your cluster. So whenever management is coming in and saying, what's going on with, this workload? Why is it costing more? You can go down, say, oh, well, look, in the platform front end namespace, that's where most of the costs are. You can quickly troubleshoot it and see if these extra costs make sense or if something is wrong, whatever it may be. This really helps a lot of our customers jump right in and figure out, okay, how can we either reduce this or, is it just scaling up because, we have more traffic going through this cluster? We provide a log with Ocean and Elastigroup. So you're able to see everything that goes on, any sort of scaling action that happens. You can view the details of it. And you'll see the pre and post scale CPU and memory. What you're seeing here, this pod rescheduling simulation. This is Ocean simulating the scaling action before it actually does it, because Ocean will pay respect to any labels, taints, affinities, anti-affinities, any sort of constraints. Ocean's going to read that. So again, going back to the VNGs, if you have a label separating a VNG, and that one VNG needs to be a C4 or C5 instance, well, Ocean will see that and know, all right, this is the only way this thing works. So it's going to simulate it before it actually does it. If the simulation goes through perfectly, then it will perform the action. And you'll see here in the scale down, you'll see the actual instances that were terminated. So again, it's all about granular view into every single action that our platform is doing. And all of this is happening automatically. So it's great that, you're seeing, man, we can get amazing savings with spot instances and spot VMs, up to 90% savings compared to on-demand or pay-go costs. But I'll allude back to not every workload is compatible with spot instances. Some things have to be on-demand. They have to be pay-go. That's perfect. Not a problem at all. For everything that cannot run on spot instances, we go back to our FinOps solution, Eco, which Zach touched on earlier. And this is the Eco dashboard. We're simply taking all of the information from your cloud, either AWS or Azure. And as Zach stated, in GCP, we are going through the test phase right now. I guess you can call it beta for Eco and GCP. We're displaying all of the information that you can find this in your Cost Explorer, but you have to go through 10 different pages to get all of this together onto one page. And that was the goal of this dashboard, is putting it out in easy to read and understand graphs and charts. You can set your own timeline here. You can constrict it down to specific regions to see what are the costs, what are my commitments, and what are the savings from those commitments. You can also go through the services that all of your RIs and savings plans cover. And this is going to be, again, a high level. This works at the management account level, so it doesn't drill into the actual applications. We consider it a simpler application because it does stay at that high level and it's just commitments. But we're going to show you a full inventory list of everything you have. You'll get to see the generated savings of every single commitment. This is also going to show the non-Eco commitments, meaning what did you purchase before Eco was activated? Because Eco is going to manage all of that, not just what Eco does. We want to be, when we say fully managed service, we mean that it's 100% fully managed by Eco, even the things that you did before Eco came into play. So this is the dashboard. Again, very simple. You can see your active commitments by service, by region. We just wanted to make it another way to see everything with a granular view. Now, I did say that we could touch on some things that were not necessarily compute. So real quick, the last thing I'll show you. When I said we can apply those read-only permissions and provide estimated savings for your compute applications, one thing that we do have as an extra bonus, spot storage. We've seen a rapid rise in storage costs from our customers kind of getting out of control, and it's another tough thing to track down in your cloud. So we're doing spot storage, which, again, we're giving it away. These are just optimization recommendations for your storage. So let's take your EBS volumes. We're going to show you unoptimized EBS volume types. You might have a GP2, you might need to turn it to GP3. Volumes that are attached to stopped instances and volumes that are just unattached. So it'll break it down by each cloud account ID, and it's going to show you, it gives you a link to the actual spot storage page, which is one of our solutions that has its own section in the platform. And you can see every single thing, and it'll include links to each volume, each storage item that'll take you directly to your cloud account to where you can perform the action if you think that it is the right action to do. So that's, again, a super high level view of the platform. We'll be more than happy to do deep dives into each of our solutions one-on-one after this webinar as you reach out to the different people with our company. So I hope this kind of gives you a good enough view into what we can do, what our core solutions can do. So I will turn it back to Zach real quick, because I know one thing you're probably thinking is, cool, what does it cost? I know we're talking all about, saving you money and everything, but you're going to want to know the pricing model.
Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dustin. So we basically do what we call success-based pricing, is what you'll see like from the marketing and things like that. Essentially, what we want to do is ensure that our customers are guaranteed a positive ROI out of using our platform. So what do? We take a percentage of the impact that we're able to have on your environment through a few different flavors of pricing. So one is basically like, think of it like a mortgage, where it's a percentage rate where that you commit to us on a monthly basis, which allows you to get a certain percentage of spot savings. So for example, let's say you say, hey, I'll pay you $5,000 a month because I know I can achieve $100,000 in savings monthly by leveraging your platform. And therefore, that gives you a 15% fee, where you will go out and you will net 85% of the net new savings we're able to apply to you. If you go above the $5,000, you don't owe that platform fee. So essentially, it comes with very low commitments. As a public company, we have to have some sort of revenue on the books. And from there, it's a percentage of savings. So you don't have to go create budget. You don't have to move costs or funds around. What we do is we go and create capital for our customers to hire new headcount, go pursue other new projects. And that is the standard model across all of our products, because what our goal is not only take away FTE hours, but it's reduce that hourly rate of your compute consumption. And that's where we're going to meter our success, outside of the other additional values through automation, sizing, et cetera, that Dustin and I had mentioned. So that's usually a really great conversation to have once we do POVs, we get successful. And as we go and talk to procurement and leadership folks, it's a very frictionless model, besides the typical EC2 license seat-based things I've sold into this space in the past. So we did want to highlight and touch on that. It's, here's what we do, here's how it looks when you're using it, and here's how we come together for commercial terms to try and make it as seamless as possible for our customers.
Great, thank you, Zach. And we just have a few more minutes to take some additional questions. There was a question, and I think Dustin just answered it, but it was, so why Spot in AWS over AWS ECS? I don't know if you just want to comment quickly on that. Dustin?
Yeah, I can touch on it. Most of the time, if you're using ECS in AWS, you are using Fargate with that, and Fargate works. It's great. It's basically your automated solution, which, if you want to compare it to us, that's what we are. The issue that we always see is how expensive Fargate is. It's also a black box. You don't have many configuration options. And unless you have some kind of, odd coding that, or logic that we haven't seen before, Fargate is going to spin them up on demand. So what we're going to do is make your EC2 workloads compatible. I'm sorry, your ECS workloads compatible with EC2. Utilize those spot instances so you can get that high level of savings, and give you more configuration options. Instance selection, more scaling policies that you can utilize. So it's all about giving you more control over your ECS clusters, and with the byproduct again of massive savings.
Terrific, great. And
Yeah,
a question.
I think just to add on to that too, when we think about like cloud native versus ours, outside of functionality, right, is that we have engineers constantly doing updates and patches. You get 24/7 support, and our product has gone through iterations of thousands of customers providing insight and value to what helps scale these containerized environments the best. So we're constantly moving and being dynamic in your favor. You have the support through chat, through Dustin, myself, dedicated teams, etc. So outside of functionality, you get the support you need and the changes on the fly as well.
Great, thank you, Zach. And one question that we get a lot is people asking, how does the free trial work? I don't know, Dustin, I know you touched on it earlier. Did you want to just say a couple words on that?
For sure. So going back to that optimization page that I was showing that listed all of your resources that we're saying, hey, these are compatible with our solutions. Starting the POC or POV, we find that development workload to say, look, let's test it out. This is non-mission critical. Things go bad. It's not that bad. It's not gonna affect your production workloads. So we'll find that. We'll work with you to integrate that workload with our solutions. And we'll let you run it for a week, 2 weeks, whatever is a long enough time for you to decide, yes, this is great, or hey, let's try a different workload, or it doesn't work at all. So to give you the full timeline, getting connected, getting the read-only permissions, and then starting the POV, you're looking at, up to 2 weeks of getting all of that handled. And by the end of that, really knowing if our platform can really help out your cloud infrastructure or not. And most of the time it can. We're very confident in our ability to go to pretty much any cloud out there and help out a customer in some way. So yeah, getting it started is very simple. That's after, again, it runs 48 hours, get it started, let you play with our solutions for a week to 2 weeks. And then that's when we, help you out as far as moving forward.
Terrific. Thanks, Dustin. Okay, we're getting near the end of our webinar. I just want to mention that please feel free to reach out to Sam or Zach if you have questions about what we covered today, or even if you'd like to see a feature spot that we didn't have time to show you. And remember, whatever you need, we're here to help you every step of the way. So. And then lastly, again, we'd like to invite you to sign up and take advantage of the free trial. You can scan the code or click the link in the chat that we shared earlier. As Dustin mentioned, it's fast, it's simple, it's non-intrusive, and you'll immediately begin to experience the benefits of Spot right away firsthand. We'll be sending you a copy of the slides as well as a link to the recording of the webinar to share with your colleagues if you like. So please take a look at look for this in your email later today. And then lastly, let me Sam, I don't know if you'd like to say a few words before we close for the folks that came to the event.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to really thank you, you, Doug, and the NetApp team for the presentation. It was a pleasure for me to be part of this, and look forward to work with you guys and make myself available if anyone have any other questions. Feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Sam. And to everyone that joined, we hope you found the webinar useful. And we look forward to working with you to optimize your cloud. Thanks again, and have a great day.